Now remember, Russian President Vladimir Putin has launched this full-scale invasion of Ukraine in early hours of 24th February. It sparked the biggest war on a European state since World War II. In the month since the invasion began, more than 10 million people, we are being told, have already been displaced, had to flee. Several Ukrainian towns and cities have been besieged, bombarded beyond recognition. All we see now are debris and rubble in so many cities, and hundreds of civilians also appear to have now been killed. Now they are bracing for a second month, 1 month over, another month coming, of bombing, destruction and deaths. Take a look at this ground report.
I decided to conduct a special military operation. It aims to protect people who have been bullied and subjected to genocide by Kyiv regime for 8 years.
It all started with an early morning broadcast that stunned the world. The future of millions of Ukrainians changed with the blink of an eye. Now, a month and counting, Ukraine has survived ruthless bombing, brutal attacks, and endless hellscape. Russian forces are struggling to capture key Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv and Kharkiv. Kyiv still stands firm. Heavily outnumbered and outmuscled, yet Ukraine is giving them a bloody nose.
I thank everyone who acts in support of Ukraine, in support of freedom, but the war continues. The acts of terror against peaceful people go on. 1 month already. That long. It breaks my heart, hearts of all Ukrainians and every free person on the planet.
The war has spared no one. Toddlers, kids, youngsters, elderly, all victims. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, over 10 million people have fled their homes, mostly women and children. With each passing hour, Ukraine war is fast becoming the fastest growing humanitarian crisis Europe has seen since the Second World War. Diplomatic efforts are on to secure a ceasefire, and yet reports of civilian deaths in Ukrainian cities continue to make headlines. Once a bustling, lively and colorful country, many Ukrainian cities are becoming ghost towns. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, US President Joe Biden is on a 4-day trip to Europe, and that, remember, amid no end to the Russian hostility in Ukraine. Biden is in Brussels, Europe, to reaffirm Western alliances amid Russian aggression. Biden will be heading to Poland then on Friday. Now, the US president will also attend the NATO, G7 and European Union summits. He's expected then to impose new sanctions against Russia during this visit. Western nations will be warning Russian President Vladimir Putin that his country will pay ruinous cost for invading Ukraine, and that during an unprecedented one-day trip to NATO, G7 and European Union summits. This hectic day of summitry to maintain Western unity will kick off at the Transatlantic Defense Alliance's headquarters in Brussels, where leaders will agree to ramp up military forces on Europe's East NATO and will also agree to send Kyiv equipment to defend against biological, chemical and nuclear attacks. The resolve to punish Moscow with massive sanctions will be underlined by an emergency meeting of the G7 advanced economies, including Japan. All-out war in Europe escalates. The United States of America has stationed its troops closer to the Ukrainian border. And India today visited Mork in Gemina-Zamosk County, which is barely 50 kilometers from Ukraine, where it appeared that there were American troops, Humvees, armored carriers and radar systems being deployed. Here's India Today's exclusive report. Take a look.
The military tents that you see behind me are the new American camps that have come up. We are about 300 kilometers from Poland's capital, Warsaw. We are currently in a place called Mokre Jamosh. This is an airfield. And if you notice in this airfield, there are a number of tents that have come up. These tents are the new American airbase that's been set up in Poland. Now, there are a large number of American troops who are now deployed in this area. Now, if you look just behind me there, that entire green cover are American military tents. They have American military hardware, from armored personnel carriers to Humvees to certain radars that have been set up to troop carriers that have come up in this area. And they've come up from mid-March to now, and the numbers are increasing. This is an airfield. That's the airfield. This is the Mokre Jamosh airfield. This is barely 50 kilometers from Ukraine's border. And civilian movement in this area is now restricted. This entire area is not only barricaded, but you have American troops deployed at every entrance to this airfield. Now, are these American troops here as part of a North Atlantic Treaty Organization country, NATO military exercise? They started coming here. The initial troops or the pioneers came in between mid to end February, and the larger number of troops are still coming in. We spoke to some of these soldiers, but they said they're not cleared to speak to media about the nature of the deployment or the duration of the deployment in Poland, close to the border with Ukraine. But there are radars that are here, there are Humvees that are here, and there are certain other military hardware that is coming in to this area, is what locals tell India today. US President Joe Biden is also to fly in to Warsaw for talks with Poland. Now, while that is a lot to do also with humanitarian assistance that will be provided to Poland for Poland looking after more than 2 million refugees who've come in from Ukraine. But Poland is also looking for additional military hardware, from surface to air missiles to fighter jets from the United States, and more troops on ground. America did commit to about 3,000 additional troops being sent here. 7,000 American troops as part of rotation are in the NATO territory right now. But Poland wants more to strengthen its security, especially with Russian missiles falling very close to Poland's border with Ukraine. With cameraman Lalit Joshi in Poland, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.